afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Black Americans don't have time for the endless guilt trips pushed by wealthy white liberals. What they want is simple, lower prices, good jobs, and police who show up when called. If Bill Maher is right about that, then why didn't voters back the former prosecutor who actually had plans to help working people? And let's be clear, karma isn't real. Life is random. When a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and eaten by lions, that's not karma. It's just hilarious. Bill Maher has been tearing apart woke arguments like it's his full-time job. His latest target? Whoopi Goldberg. And honestly, she had it coming after a long list of cringeworthy comments since
Got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
2022. Maher didn't just criticize her. He ripped her arguments apart so thoroughly it was like watching a cartoon character get crushed by falling anvils. So what did Whoopi say this time to spark Maher's fury? And how did his comeback leave the woke crowd stunned? That's exactly what we're about to break down. The bigger issue, Maher argued, is this obsession with zero tolerance. Canceling people for every mistake or wrong word gets us nowhere. The real answer to speech you don't like is more speech, not silencing. Whoopi poked the bear, and now she's dealing with Maher's claw.
Afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Because of harsh truth, and it isn't pretty. The ladies of The View aren't backing down after Bill Maher's takedown. This time, Whoopi Goldberg jumped in like she was on a revenge mission. It seemed like Sunny Hostin couldn't handle Maher's blunt truth, so she called in backup, Whoopi herself, and she came out swinging, ready for a fight no one asked for. Maher's original point was simple. Black Americans want lower prices, better jobs, and reliable policing. Straightforward, right? But Whoopi twisted it, bringing up how voters should have supported a former
Down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Prosecutor with plans for the working class. That didn't actually connect to what Maher was saying. It was like throwing darts while blindfolded. Nothing hit the target. Maher didn't let that slide. He shot back, saying, "It's not that I've gotten old. It's that your ideas are stupid, brutal but direct." And he's not wrong. The View often feels less like a political talk show and more like a train wreck. Painful to watch, but people still tune in. The show is famous for its wild, questionable takes, but Sunny and Whoopi push things to a new level with their comments.
Is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time, and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, "Hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now."
Remember when Charlemagne the God went on as a guest? You could practically see him wondering if he had stepped into another dimension. He made a solid point. Democrats always preach about the moral high ground, but they don't live up to it. For example, President Joe Biden, who constantly claims no one is above the law, just pardoned his own son, Hunter Biden, after Hunter was found guilty of corruption and related crimes. Talk about double standards. It's like saying justice is blind, unless your last name is Biden. Hunter's guilt was obvious, but accountability was skipped. That was Charlemagne's issue. If the woke crowd really believes in no one above the law, they should stick to that principle. Sounds
I'm
simple.
going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all
No,
of a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
Right? But Whoopi wasn't having it. Whoopi Goldberg just dropped another head-shaking comment. This time, she claimed President Biden didn't lie when he said, "No one is above the law." Really, Whoopi? There's plenty of proof, video, audio, even direct quotes, where Biden said exactly that. America was...
The nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law.
built on the idea that we have no kings and that everyone is equal under the law. Watching Whoopi deny this is like watching someone argue that the sky isn't blue while standing outside on a sunny day. Her mental gymnastics could earn her a gold medal, but she'd probably trip over her own logic. Even Charlemagne looked stunned at what she was saying. She went on to suggest maybe Biden changed his mind because he was tired of watching others get away with things. That excuse left...
I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
They're
the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
Left Charlemagne speechless. He pointed out that Democrats are the ones who always preach about moral high ground, yet they don't follow it themselves. And that's the real issue. The so-called woke crowd only calls out wrongdoing when it's convenient. If the guilty person is outside their circle, they scream about justice. But if it's one of their own, they either stay quiet, defend them, or suddenly forget. This double standard was clear with Hunter Biden. He was guilty.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
Plain and simple. If anyone else had done what he did, the same people defending him would demand harsh punishment. But since his father is the president, Hunter walks free. That's why Bill Maher stepped in and said it best. You love to speak truth to power, but you've lost the ability to speak truth to nonsense. This hypocrisy, plain and simple. The system bends over backwards for the powerful while the average person gets crushed by the rules. The question now is, how long will Americans tolerate this two-faced behavior? Bill Maher's takedown wasn't just sharp. It was a wake-up call for anyone still believing the system is fair. He pointed out how the woke mob often gets cover from the mainstream media. A perfect example? The Hunter Biden story. Before the election, major news outlets worked hard to bury the scandal. They dismissed it as Russian disinformation. Even when evidence kept piling up, they silenced opposing voices and waited
To bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying
You gotta-
know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
until after the election to admit the story was real, because they didn't want Trump to benefit. Whoopi Goldberg joined that media chorus, laughing off the allegations on The View. But Maher wasn't having it. He called her out for defending Biden instead of seeking the truth, and exposed the double standard on full display. Maher summed it up in one line. America is run by mean girls. Whether in politics or media, once they smell weakness, they pile on like sharks. The women of The View, especially...
Of any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Whoopi don't really debate. They attack, mock, and dismiss anyone who disagrees. Whoopi has made a career of brushing off opposing opinions as if they don't matter. Maher wasn't afraid to call that what it is, bullying disguised as activism. That's why he's such a problem for them. His willingness to shine a light on hypocrisy is refreshing in a space full of fake outrage and one-sided talking points. And here's the kicker. While progressives claim to speak for minorities, polls show a different reality. More Black and Hispanic Americans say they believe America is the greatest country in the world compared to white progressives. More Hispanic Americans also support stronger border security than white liberals do. And fewer minorities buy into the idea that racism is
Let's run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
built into society compared to white progressives who preach it constantly. In short, the woke narrative doesn't even match what many minorities actually believe. And as Maher made clear, it's time to stop pretending it does. Bill Maher argues that the woke crowd needs to stop pretending Trump's win was stolen. He didn't cheat or pull tricks. He won because millions of Americans liked what he stood for. That's how democracy works. Sometimes your side loses, and it's not a flaw in the system, it's the system doing what it's meant to do. Instead of blaming Russia, racism, or the trend of the week on Twitter,
there's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Maher says it's time for the left to face reality. If they want to win in the future, 2028 or even 2032, they need to focus on strategy, not excuses. Maher points out there are two kinds of Trump voters. Some genuinely like him, but many others don't love him. They just see him as less extreme than the positions coming from the progressive left. A lot of people are tired of being told to accept ideas that feel like they go against common sense, like men competing in women's sports or rallies that seem sympathetic to groups like Hamas. Most voters didn't back Trump because of his tweets or his tan. They voted for him because the alternative felt like sitting through a lecture from a self-righteous activist. Maher says if Democrats want to win again, they should stop pushing fringe ideas that alienate the middle and instead focus.
Well, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Focus on what makes sense to the average American. He also tackled Whoopi Goldberg. Some people called her suspension from The View karma after she attacked him. But Maher laughed that off. There's no such thing as karma. Life is random. When a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and eaten by lions, it's not karma. It's just hilarious. Maher then turned his humor on Whoopi herself. She tried to go after him for speaking his mind, but it backfired. Maher highlighted the irony of a show called The View, supposedly built for diverse opinions, attacking him simply for having one. That's not tolerance, that's hypocrisy. Watching Maher break down their weak arguments was like watching an artist at work, except his tools were sarcasm and logic. Once again, he exposed the echo chamber of The View, where disagreement is treated like a crime.